afternoon, VC. Seeking a thread. Gonna say hi again and do a different kind of video. I'm kind of trying to change things up with how I approach some of these videos, and not just kind of keep doing the same type of thing. And this one, I want to discuss two pretty fantastic Discogs orders that I recently received that were super satisfactory, excellent sellers, excellent grading, fantastic prices, all records I've wanted. And I'm just excited about those. And then one other thing at the end that will, bit of a contrast, as Stuntsy likes to say, always a contrast. I'm going to start with the first order, which I got, I think, maybe 2 months now. I took a good while to listen to these records, and I wanted to really process them. And then the second one is an order I just got yesterday. We're listening to a record I'm going to talk about in this first order, and they're both, now, as many of you out there will know, we all do a lot of Discogs ordering, not to mention eBay or what have you, but specifically with Discogs, you know, it tends to get a lot of, I think most people overall are very positive about the site and the service. So I am. That doesn't mean to say that it gets absurd with the want list issues and you can't upload photos, and so often, more than not, you know, you're looking through the same records on your want list. Anyway, and yeah, there's problems with new sellers and grading and the like, and people asking for stupid prices for things. But I wanted to be a little positive on this one, and I'm going to start. This one order is all based on one label, and it's a label I've always been a fan of, but 2023 probably should have put these in my focus, but I've been all over this label and really trying to hone in on certain records that I didn't have and that I want and are out of print and hard to get. So this first order were all records not in print from Kranky, and all ones that were holes. A few I didn't really know, just knew the name. And it is the Kranky label. And it started because of this book, You're With Stupid, by Bruce Adams, one of the founders of Kranky, along with, I forgot his name all of a sudden. I think it's, he's the co-founder with Tom. I think it was Tom something. Anyway, forgot that. But still, Bruce Adams is no longer the founder, or is not longer involved in Kranky, and the other guy is, I think it's a Tom. In any case, this was recommended to me. I think Mike Keddy showed it on Instagram. I'll link to his account. I believe that's who it was. And I'm gonna make this music a little louder. Yeah, he showed this, and I was like, oh man, this is all about Kranky. Except it's not just about Kranky. It's about Chicago in the 90s and sort of the whole infrastructure of the independent music scene, and how it was really a flourishing marketplace, a really flourishing scene and a marketplace, from distributors, promoters, record labels, bands, record stores, of course. It really encapsulates the entire sort of network that made the 90s, pre-internet mainly, such a, you know, rewarding time in Chicago and beyond. And Kranky started in Chicago, if you didn't know. And I won't talk too much about the label, because I really would like to do a focus on this label. I'm hoping to do something with Stunty, actually, because he's certainly a fan. But let's talk about this one order I got that filled some holes. It was all from one seller, all stuff from my want list that I thought I was going to pony up for a couple of these, and this one seller one day just, boom, 5 records that were all on my want list, and for like super reasonable prices, and actually lower end of what they sell for, and they're all in lovely shape. And I will even link to these Discogs sellers, just to keep things positive. So one of the most important bands, if not the most important bands in the history of Kranky, and it gets referenced all the time in this book, You're With Stupid, is La Bradford. This is their first album, the original pressing. The later pressings have a different cover. This is 001. It's Kranky 001. And it's sort of the impetus for the label. This is what they got together and said, this is what we want to start. And Kranky, or what we want to put out. If you don't know Kranky, they're out of Virginia. It's the duo, and they had previously put out a 7-inch, and this came out in, I think it was 1994 now. And it's a duo, and sort of what Kranky wanted to focus on was a lot of what they wanted was experimental music and ambient music, and it was very much a contrast to what was happening, but still contributed to the fertile music scene of Chicago. And this first record by Kranky is very much in that style of, Eno is a certain reference point, the Obscure series, of course, as well. Spaceman 3, I even hear as like a precursor to this band. Now, this was the very first Kranky release, and this has the original letter that was given out, handwritten from Mr. Kranky. Everything, even now, when I make orders with Kranky, it still correspond when I do emails with them as Mr. Kranky writes me back. But this is awesome. This is the original like dot matrix printer paper. It talks about the upcoming releases. You don't know how lucky you are. There's the other letter that came with this. And the person's name is on this, Mitchell. Attention, Mitchell. I guess each person got a handwritten letter, or a hand-typed letter. The insert. Carter Brown and Mark Nelson. Carter Brown, Memory Moog, Poly Moog, multiple Moogs, Roland vocoder. Mark Nelson is doing some of the guitar, tape loops. Recorded in 93, actually released in 93, not 94. Came with a 7-inch, which is, I think, a re-release of their very first 7-inch, which came out before. And, of course, double LP, which was on this, not an amazing color, but the first pressing is only on this color. Sort of hand labels. Very much a hand-done release. The sleeve is not even really a sleeve, it's just a fold-over. So this came from this seller. Didn't have this one. I have the next two. I had the next two Kranky records, or LaBradford records, and this is superb. Again, I want to talk more about the label, but I wanted to highlight how great this order was. I also, this other LaBradford I didn't have. This is maybe a little more synth heavy, sort of more atmospheric, a little more. This is a little more experimental rock. Precision, which is the name of the first LP. This one is called, again, Media Naranja. So this completes sort of all of the LPs from LaBradford. I still want a few of the EPs. This was super cheap. And this one is from, I think, 1999 to 2000. There's one record that, one of the ones I have, Eluxo, I think it is, from Kranky, or from LaBradford, that is all just the thank yous. Each track name is like, oh, produced by so-and-so, that's track 1, you know, like, Mark Nelson plays Epiphone guitars, track 6, like, that's the name of the song. Very funny. Anyway, this I got in the same order. And then 3 records from this next band, which is another band that gets mentioned constantly in the Yo We're Stupid book, and it's what we're listening to. The first album by Jessamine. This is Kranky 03, Crank 003, from 1994. Laya Deputy is the cover star. Now, I had a version of this, but I ended up getting it for free, and this is a really cool paper, another fold over. So like a translucent matte paper, Mylar maybe. And I had the record, and it was defective. It had a pretty bad gouge. I got in they just give it to me. But it plays mostly fine otherwise. If anyone wants that, get in touch. You can have it. You can have it. Original pressing, because this is not in print. You can't. A lot of Kranky stuff is in print, but this one isn't. That's why these other little Bradford records aren't either. Rex Ritter, Jason Jones, Dawn Smithson, Andy Brown doing a lot of oscillators. Michael Dahlquist. This is a more psychedelic rock band, but still in that Kranky spirit. And a lot of the Kranky, they really did have a unifying feel. A lot of what they did was sort of more, artists sort of taking their own path. And definitely on the outer fringes of rock music, not always rock. A lot of minimal, experimental, not a ton of synth music. That would come later. Early on, it was more of this sort of fringe, I like to call it, experimental rock. But would get big in the UK. I left my letters out of this. And in the U.S., they slowly over many years would grow in notoriety. But Jessamine, a strong record. I think, yeah, this is just self-titled. That's what we're listening to. The second album, this was, again, lowest price sold on Discogs. This is my favorite Jessamine here. The Long Arm of Innocence. Double album. This goes a little bit more into that. A little bit of a Red Crayola thing happening, if you ask me. And this is a nice, thick cardboard. This is from 96, I think it is. Beautiful insert. Yeah, 96. Basically the same lineup out of Seattle. That's right. Jessamine, Long Arm of Innocence, Crank 012, 12. This is a band not active anymore. This is a double album. I love, I think it's Or What You Mean, second track, or Periwinkle, maybe was it? Great record. So that was on my want list. And then, let's see, the fifth record, 5 records in this order. Don't Stay Too Long, the third album. This was not my want list, I guess, but I decided to get it because another beautiful pressing, original pressing. You know, the graded super conservatively. Everything's basically new with some mild crease wear. I mean, the one I wanted the most was that Precision, the first LaBradford, but everything else, to get it all at the low price and from the same seller. Super happy. So yeah, expanding my Kranky collection. I don't know what the Kranky focus will be or how we'll go about it, but I do want to hopefully make that happen with Stunty. I know there's a lot of fans of the label, but I think there's a lot of deeper records on the label that people don't know or even have heard. Certainly that's true for me, because they kind of come out, you know, they give each one sort of the same billing. If it grows in stature on its own, great, but like they don't really promote one heavily more than anything else, unless it starts to get some steam. Maybe they put some money behind it for touring and stuff. But part of their ethos was, you know, they only wanted to give bands like 2 record contracts. They wanted to sort of like give them freedom to go somewhere else and keep the labels sort of evolving. But at the same time, they wanted aesthetically to have similar cover art. And I think that was sort of a tribute to 4AD. And to just sort of, you know, what part of what's in the book is like all of their slogans that they came up with. You're With Stupid was one of them. I think the other one that I liked from the book is What We Want When You Need It. Yeah, I think that was it. What We Want When You Need It. So, the Kranky label. Hopefully more to come on that. And that, again, I don't have the name of the Discogs seller in front of me, but I will link to them. So that was that one order. The second order I just got yesterday, and this is like different stuff completely. Now, these I mainly have not listened to, but one record I hadn't seen come up in quite a long time. That's usually how it works with these orders like this, when I order 5 things. There's like an Anchor record, and then other stuff I'm like, oh, I'd like to have that. I'll add it in. Although this one with the Kranky was all stuff I wanted already. But this one had 1 record in my want list, and the rest I put in. I'm sorry, 2 records in my want list, and the rest I added just because stuff I needed. And this is the one I wanted. I hadn't seen this in forever. Into Morning on Folkways, Charles Cha-Cha Shaw. This is from 1976. I don't believe this came with an insert. This one does not, but I don't think. Most Folkways records do have inserts. This one did not come with one. Charles Cha-Cha Shaw, not a huge output. There's another record on Folkways. It talks about he attended Oakland City, so from Oakland. But not a ton known about him. At least I don't know a ton about him, but also he's a trumpet and flugelhorn player on this. Art Blakey Jr., Ronnie Boykins, you'll know him from his ESP records, is on this. Billy Lyles and Brian Ross. What a cool cover. So this is the one I wanted. This is definitely on the free improv avant-garde side. These blue Folkways labels. Again, 1976. Not a cheap one, not crazy, but there's another one on Folkways that sells for a little more, so I'm also looking for that. happy to get that. I finally got my first Jandek record. Now, not first because I've never heard him before, but first actual LP. I have CDs of his stuff. Oh no, I do have one reissue of the Units. Yeah, the Units record. But I've always been wanting to get one, but I just don't feel like... There's so many Jandek records, and to me, you can kind of get any one in a way. There's definitely ones I prefer. This was one I preferred. It's from 1991, a little late, but still great. One Foot in the North, on the Corwood label, of course, his own label. If you don't know Jandek, definitely an outsider. Very much untrained musician, folk or noise or abstract. Yeah, it's not for everyone, and a lot of his music will annoy you. But for years, no one knew who he was. Just on the sleeves, it would be this person, and then just unexplained songs on the back. And the label, Corwood, always Corwood Industries in Texas, Houston. And, you know, it was always a letter. There's a great documentary, Jandek on Corwood. I highly recommend watching that. I don't know where it's at right now, but it's either streamable, you can find it. It's awesome. But in like 2005, he finally just came out of the woodwork and started playing shows. I think with Richard Young's, if I remember correctly. And I didn't see it. But ever since then, he's been playing quite regularly. He's been releasing live shows. Turns out the guy on the cover was Jandek. No one knew if that was actually him. But of course that was him. And that's who started playing. Anyway, all that's to say is that if you are into sort of the dark, loner, you know, self-taught musician type stuff, eerie for sure, eerie stuff, you got to check out Jandek. And so we'll see if I come across these, say at the WFMU Record Fair, I will, and the price is right, I'll go from, typically they're between 60 to anywhere between 60 and $100. This was like 25, so I was like, boom. No, I'm sorry, 30. This was $30. But with the Charles Cha-Cha Shaw, which was already a pretty nice price, I'm like, fine, I'll do it. And all the Corwood labels look like that, basically. They all look the same. I added this in, a record I've loved for many years, and I've always had it on CD, and I'm like, at some point I'll get it on vinyl. And this is Jack Rose Kensington Blues on the VHF label. One of the foremost forerunners and followers in the John Fahey American primitive style. Passed away suddenly in 2009. I think he was only like 38, 39. This is, if not his crowning achievement, one of them. He has maybe 4 or 5 records. It's just, what a beautiful sleeve. This was $15. I'm like, I gotta get that. It's about time. There he is, Jack Rose. He even covers Fahey on this. Thanks, Glenn Jones. You know, of course. And Out of Philadelphia. Kensington Blues. If you don't know Jack Rose, I don't feel like it gets discussed very much. But him, along with like James Blackshaw, Steve Gunn is one. He gets thanked on this too, and Danny Paul Grody. There's a whole great scene of American primitive folk musicians, Daniel Bachman, that are following in the Fahey or Basho style, and they're very much worth checking out. And Jack Rose is one of them. This one I've had my want list forever because it's a super expensive original. At some point, I figured I'd get it. And there was Cosmic Eye by the Dream Sequence. Or is it the other way around? Cosmic Eye Dream? Yeah, it's Dream Sequence is the artist. It's studio musicians from 1972. But Eastern. This is like Indian classical influence and psychedelic rock. Originally on the Regal Zonophone label. It's a 4-figure record. It's been reissued a few times. I think this is the round table version. A nice pressing. Well, actually, I don't know for sure yet. I haven't played it yet, but here's some of the art from the artists involved. And like I said, it's all Indian classical. Amancio da Silva is the main artist, the guitarist behind this. There may be some other facts about this that I'm not forgetting if anyone wants to chime in. So that was 20. Boom. Throw that in. I'm like looking for that. This one I was not looking for it, but I've seen it before and I've wanted it. Jamil Moondog Sextet on Soul Note, great Italian label. You can still find stuff pretty cheap. From 1983. My primary interest for wanting this was William Parker involvement on bass and Khan Jamal on vibes. But you also have Moondog on alto, Dennis Charles drums, Ellen Christie voice, some voice on this, Roy Campbell trumpet. Yeah, there was a focus on Soul Mode a little while ago, right? I think. In any case, this was like, yeah, another $20 record. So I was happy to get all these together. So I'll link to the seller. 2 great Discogs orders. Wow, who'd have thunk it? Good, positive things to say about Discogs. And now a contrast with a negative experience that I just experienced. Got this for a very good price, fair price. The Andrew Cyril Milford Graves Dialogue of the Drums on the IPS label. Really great collaborative drum environment and percussion sort of piece, recorded live. I think it was 1974. Graded as a VG+, and by the way, the grading on all these other records, top notch. But VG+, with no notes. 100% seller. However, I get it, and there's these little tears up here. Not a huge deal, but I'm like, yeah, you should have disclosed that. Otherwise, the sleeve is okay. However, my real issue is not with the grading so much, it's that they didn't tell me that there were 2 gnarly stickers attached to the labels. That white ring, and then this library sticker. Now, some stickers I'm okay with. These white ones on this orange label are kind of ugly. So I might try to remove them, but they're not looking very like they're going to be friendly with lighter fluid, removing these. So the seller, well, I didn't expect to be problematic. I said, you know, I paid a decent amount of money for this thing, even though it was sort of better than what other prices were. I kind of think I'm going to return it. Now, I was thinking maybe he'll work out a arrangement where we work out a discount, or I would just return it if he. Some sellers don't like to do that, and they just say return it. I got plenty of other records that I want to get. I'm saving for, so I could take the money back and just look for this another time. Seller refused. He said, I don't think I made a mistake. And he quoted the Discogs VG Plus notes for what this is, which to me, he's not entirely right on that. Some of it is accurate. I think overall this presents as VG Plus. And the record is fine. The record's fine. It's got like superficial scuff. So I'll agree that that's VG Plus. But, you know, an old tape damage with some tears up here, I mean, even though it's small, and then when you factor in white stickers on the labels, I just don't think, well, you could call them both VG Plus, but you got to disclose that they're stickers. You got to tell the buyer that there are stickers on these labels, so that if you want to get them off, you're going to have to get them off. Or downgrade it. You could downgrade it too and still put this. If it was me, I would have graded the record VG Plus and the sleeve VG and put, you know, tear on sleeve, stickers on label. That's what those abbreviations are for. TOS, SOL, sticker on label. Shit out of luck. Sticker on label. That's what those are there for. So in my mind, to just put no notes, this would have checked out VG Plus with no notes, if not for the tear on the sticker. So, long story short, I'm keeping the record, even though I'm not totally thrilled with it. Then he's not responding to my message anymore. I haven't forced the issue. Like I haven't really pushed the seller, but because then it's a record I'm happy overall. I'm like, okay, the price was good, but it was not the best experience. So maybe not a horror show with Discogs, but also not great. If anyone wants to know who the seller was, let me know. I'm not going to trash them publicly because maybe I should, because they're not, you know, they didn't. If it was me, I'd go over above and be, hey, let's work something out, or hey, let's return it, or hey, what can I do? No, I'm right, you're wrong, and here's why. So I didn't love that. Whatever, that's the world of Discogs. I'm going to focus on the positive with my 2 great orders. So hope you like that, sort of a change of pace video here. And stay tuned for something else that's change of pace, hopefully, definitely. And I hope everyone's doing good out there in August land. See ya.